Late one night on the streets of Glasgow, a young woman's walking home alone. It was a route she had taken hundreds of times before, but for some reason, that night she felt a little uneasy. She pulls her coat tighter. There's no one behind her, but still she feels like she's being watched. She hears something, not footsteps, more like rustling, breathing. She turns toward an alley, and there, half shrouded in the shadows of a crumbling wall, stands a man. He's tall, thin, shirtless. His face is twisted. His jaw is unnaturally stretched. Lips are pulled tight. His eyes wide and empty, like he's trapped mid-scream. But he makes no sound. He just stares. Then he starts to run in place. Over the next several years, women across Glasgow would report nearly identical encounters. A strange man with grotesquely contorted face. He's always silent, always watching, and then gone. This wasn't an urban legend. Police received reports, composite sketches were drawn, but no one ever found him. And to this day, no one knows who or what the Gurning Man really was. Welcome back to Legends May Live, where we explore the strange, the mysterious, and the downright eerie. I'm Drew, and today's story is possibly one of the strangest we've done so far. It was October of 1976 when the first report was ever filed. The woman, whose name was never released to the public, was walking home from a late shift near Dixon Avenue. It was a quiet residential stretch just south of Glasgow's city centre. She was bundled up tight. The night was painfully cold, and she really wasn't thinking about anything except getting home and getting warmed up. But as she trekked through the bitter cold, she started to hear a soft, repetitive slapping sound coming from an alley she was approaching. It didn't sound like footsteps, more like skin against pavement. When she got to the alley, she turned her head, and that's when she saw him. It was a pale, shirtless man standing inside of the alley, partly hidden by shadows, and his face was just frozen in this contorted grimace. Lips twisted back unnaturally, cheeks pulled tight, jaw slack as if mid-scream, but he made no noise. He just stared at her, gurning, and then he started jogging in place. Not toward her, not away, just in place, like some broken loop in a nightmare. And though he wasn't chasing, she ran as if her life depended on it. Later that night, she filed a report with the Glasgow police. They were puzzled, but not overly concerned. There was no assault, no crime, just a really odd encounter. They logged it and moved on. But then it happened again and again and again. In the months that followed, more women came forward, about 4 or 5 in total, but the details in each report were chillingly similar. Different neighborhoods, different times of night, but always the same man. Thin, shirtless, pale skin like wax, and that same face, contorted into something almost inhuman. Not angry, not sad, just bizarrely twisted. Some said he moved like a marionette. Others said he had this low and guttural moan like he was in pain, though a few insisted he never made a sound. One woman was walking along near Queen's Park. She caught movement out of the corner of her eye, and when she turned, there he was, just standing on the corner, unmoving, mouth open. It was open wide as if mid-laugh, but silent. When she passed by, he followed, not quickly, but just enough to keep pace, and all the while keeping the same contorted face. She sprinted the last block to her flat. She slammed the door shut, and with her heart pounding and hands shaking, she turned around to look through the blinds, and to her horror, he was right there in the street, just standing and staring directly at her window with that monstrous face still just frozen. Another account came from a woman named Elaine. She shared her story anonymously in a local interview years later. She had been locking up the front gate of her building when she heard soft steps behind her. She turned to look, and there was this man, almost seeming to be more creature than man, standing under a street lamp, gurning. She froze, and at first he didn't move either. But after a few seconds, he started jogging in place again, like with the first encounter. Elaine said that he seemed inhumanly still from the waist up, but legs just churning. She rushed inside and called the police. This time they arrived within minutes, but by the time they did, he was gone. Gone again. The reports had reached enough of a critical mass that the Glasgow police began to investigate it as a potential case of harassment or public indecency. A crude sketch was compiled from multiple witness descriptions, and yet no suspect was ever found. Though he was reported many times, no one knew who he was. No one who saw him ever recognized him. And then something else odd began to surface. Each report happened within walking distance of the River Clyde, often near alleyways or underpasses or abandoned buildings, just places where shadows linger after dark. And then, just as the search area narrowed, the sightings stopped as quickly as they started. By the early 1980s, the sightings of the Gurning Man had ceased entirely. There were no new reports, no more eerie run-ins. He simply vanished from Glasgow's streets. But the legend, that lingered. Over the years, people have tried to explain who or what the Gurning Man was. Most agree it was likely just one man, but beyond that, there's no consensus. Some believe he was a mentally ill individual, perhaps unhoused, suffering from psychosis or schizophrenia. It would explain the contorted expressions, the strange behavior, the silence, but it wouldn't really explain the consistency of the sightings. The sheer number of women who described exactly the same face, the same mannerisms, and often miles apart in days or even weeks between encounters. Others believe it was a deliberate performance, a prankster, an early form of social terror, like a pre-internet Slenderman. Just meant to shock and disturb, but no one ever came forward. There were no confessions and no friends spilling secrets or deathbed admissions. And then, of course, there are those who wonder if the Gurning Man wasn't a man at all. Some think it was some sort of entity, possibly even a manifestation, a thought form brought to life by fear and repetition, what some paranormal researchers call a tulpa. The way he vanished from sight when chased, the eerie stillness of his upper body while his legs ran. The reports of him standing completely silent outside windows, disappearing before police could arrive. To some, it sounds less like a man and more like a glitch in reality, a patch of wrongness that people only caught glimpses of. Whether he was flesh and blood or something stranger, we may never know. The Gurning Man of Glasgow left behind no fingerprints or video footage and no physical harm to his victims, just memories and fear. So if you find yourself walking home alone at night, if you catch a glimpse of movement in the alley and see a tall, thin man, shirtless in the cold, contorting his face in grotesque smile, don't stop to watch, just keep walking. Because some urban legends don't fade away, they wait. Thanks for joining us on Legends May Live. If this episode left a chill in your spine, consider subscribing, sharing with a friend, and leaving a review. It helps more than you know. And if you've got a strange story of your own, a mystery, a sighting, or something you just can't explain, reach out. You might just hear it here. Until next time, stay curious and keep one eye on the shadows, because legends may live.